is going on over and over again. They keep saying, "Oh, it's a ghost city," and then all of a sudden you come back a few years later and it's live. They said the same thing about Shenzhen in the '80s. Even like for bigger examples, they said the same thing about Pudong. You know, they're like, when are they like? How many times do you have to get it wrong before you get embarrassed?
Now they just try to reframe it. Now before they say it was a ghost city. Now it says, oh, it's becoming an elite enclave.
This is a different angle. Okay, they've changed the angle a little bit.
So back in 2023, which wasn't that long ago, they said Xi's empty dream city shows limit of his power, which says, oh, this is a ghost city. And now the latest Economist article says the Xi Jinping's pet project, Xiong'an, offers perks to growing number of residents, but it's becoming an elite enclave.
I was like, I always said I didn't realize that was what it was referring to, but I always said that, why don't they ever come back to these cities that they do these ghost city reports on when it's a thriving place 5 years later? I said that would be really embarrassing for them to have to try to reconcile. But now this is how they're trying to reconcile it, saying, okay, yes, well, it's not a ghost city, but it's something even worse.
Yeah, it's even more. It's a home to government's most privileged workers. Hello, the whole point of Xiong'an was to shift all the government functions away from Beijing to Xiong'an. So of course they're gonna be the government workers that they're supposed to be. It was designed to be a place to hold all these government functions away from Beijing. Anyway, yeah.
Right. And then speaking of also trying to paint the wealth issues and as a problem, this was one that I think you brought up, which is really important too. They're starting to crack down on extreme shows of wealth from influencers, kind of glorifying this life of excess and things like that. Is this one that you sent me?
Yeah. And they would not be promoting Kardashians in China. China, shows like Kardashians will get cracked down very quickly, just like, because government don't want that kind of thing. Chinese government do not want China's Kim Kardashians. They don't want the youth to have a bad example, role models to look up to.
This is like, Western conservatives, they're constantly complaining about, moral decay and extreme wealth worship and the extreme kind of toxic, influence of influencers. But then when China actually regulates these exact so-called social harms, then the West condemns it as this kind of draconian censorship. It's like they're constantly solving all of the issues that people in the West are complaining about or that are concerned about, and then attacking China when they do that, when they actually do it. I think this was Oh, yeah. I like this one. I did yeah. I'm not sure if you shared this, but I love this too. China has won. I've decided to never again comment on Chinese propaganda posts to call them out or correct them. It doesn't work. And especially on Instagram, there's no way to turn off notifications for these countless replies of trolls and bots. China spends millions to spread pro-China and anti-China or anti-U.S. propaganda through bots. Meanwhile, those who fall for it don't even realize that Instagram and X are both blocked in China. Normal Chinese citizens can't and don't use it. I mean, there's so much to unpack there. It's like, there's no evidence of China spending all of this money on this kind of a campaign. In fact, even there's a guy, Hot Pot King Nathan Rich, I think his name is, in China. He was complaining about the censorship he was complaining about in China was when he put videos that were overly critical of the U.S. on Bilibili, they would get censored, saying it was inflammatory towards another country. So it's like the opposite of what is happening. But the U.S. is on record spending billions, not millions, billions of dollars on anti-China propaganda. They literally approved all kinds of, and then of course they have their regular, NED, Radio Free Asia, all this stuff, and they still can't compete against China, which is terrible at propaganda. They're terrible at telling their own story. So no, you're not losing because there's some sort of a sophisticated, highly funded campaign. You're losing because the narrative is not on your side. You continue on a bit. I've got somebody calling me to fix my RV. You talk on this topic and interact a little bit. And I'm going to tell them. Yeah.
Sure. I mean, that's just the fact that he pretends that every X user or Instagram user must be a Chinese government approved bot or agent. I mean, he obviously never heard of VPN, and a lot of Chinese people do use VPN. Now, the ironic thing is, a lot of Chinese users who use VPN to access X, they actually didn't come here for political commentary. I know for a fact many of them use it to access porn, which is blocked inside China. But yet those people would say, I came to X for porn, yet I'm getting so outraged by all this anti-China comment. Now it has radicalized me, making me into a political shitposter when my original intention was to come to X to browse porn. and so people just don't understand. Like these people obviously have never interacted with real Chinese people, at least the real average Chinese people outside, like maybe the echo chamber of a few Chinese dissident who the total Western lines and stuff like that.
Right. All right. So the guy who's repairing the water pump on my RV is here. I told him where it is. He's just gonna do it. So I've got a few more minutes here. Empty city, wealth, influence, China 1. Oh, this is one that you brought up, Zhang Wei. Beautiful video. And we can just watch the video directly. It's a 3-minute video. And then after this, we've got one more short thing, and then we are done. So here we go. Let's start with the 3-minute video.
演讲中提到，就是加州要建高铁，到现在1公里都没有建起来。我80年代美国去了很多次，那个时候听说美国要搞高铁，我们连高速公路还没有呢。我们说，哟，这了不起啊！他最后是什么都没搞成。很多原因，用中国道路来讲的话，它没有党的领导，
对，
没有代表人民整体利益的一种政治架构，
对，
大家都讲自己利益，合不起来的。
对，张老师，
法国进入德国，这个标志就不一样了。然后呢，德国是不限里程的，法国是非常严格的限里程的，铁路也是的。我们最近刚刚去塞尔维亚，中国帮他们建到匈牙利这个铁路，现在塞尔维亚那段已经建完了。它的标准呢很有意思，它是200公里，但是保留了以后晋升到高铁就250公里的这个可能性。但匈牙利那段160公里不可能变，就160公里。那边它是严格的欧盟标准。
您刚才也说，其实铁总并不挣钱，想要靠票价来值回这个建设成本，那可能是很漫长的一个话题。但事实上，它拉动的是人流、客流、信息流所有的这个流动，这个的流动对整个社会经济带来的推动作用，那个是无法限量的。所以我觉得，就我们算的一直是一笔总账。就您刚才说的，回到我们党的领导，它是整体利益党，我们算的是。
你看总书记的经济思想啊，就是它里边有一点。供给也会创造需求，很多东西建设不要想那么多。
对，
你这个高速公路在了，血脉都打通了，很多需求新的需求就创造出来了。
对，中国比如说在农村修了很多公路嘛，很好的基础设施，他觉得这个经济上不合算，但是反过来说，修了这些交通之后，提升了。这地方的经济价值是吧？交通是给这个地方。
另外还有啊，就是进行这种公共的大基建的建设，它需要长时间的投入，
对，
长期的等待。
对，
您刚刚一开始说了规划，
对，
那我们知道还要时间，对不对？还要巨量的资金，
对。
但这个也都是我们制度的优越性。
是
这个时间你放在西方，或者说你这个巨量的投资放在西方，如果由私人企业来承担，
对，
他愿不愿意投，这就是困难了。
因为它这种交通基础设施建设一般都是长周期的，所以说这个在这里边它就面临很大风险嘛，很多方面它就推不起来。公共性是说人人有份，是吧？大家都应该享受这种便捷的、快速的、好的这种服务。但是美国一说到这个公共性的时候，它实际上只是一种兜底，它在很多领域所谓的公共提供的，它都是质量比较差的，在教育啊，在医疗啊，是吧？可能在交通一定程度上也是这样。我前面说的那个对战里边，体会一个就社会主义很值钱，
看出社会主义制度的优越性。您刚刚说了社会主义4个字很值钱啊。
对。
另外还说到了我们的这个立体交通网络，它非常强调的是它的为人民服务、人民性，就一定要让老百姓感觉到确实实实在在的有收获。一听说自己家乡通高铁都很开心，以前呢觉得好像高铁通不通没有什么感觉，现在大家都有了，我的线也有了啊，那个感觉是完全不一样。
Yeah. I mean, it's amazing that the transformation you have, in the 80s, you had the promise of high-speed rail and all this stuff in California. And during that time, there was no major, even just a highway network in China. And now,
I'll tell you a story. I'll tell you a story
go
about
ahead.
1980s, because my dad was already studying United States, but we didn't have phone in our house. So to make an international call, we have to travel to Chongqing downtown city center to make international call at the China post office. And then so it takes a whole day. My mom has to take a day off work and then take me over there. And then when we go back home, time to go back home, it's evening rush hour. And when the bus came, there was a crowd just rushed the bus. There was no line. The crowd just rushed the bus, and like those 20-year-old young men, they will crawl through the window. Me and my mom look at it, and it's like, oh my God, there's no way we're gonna make it to the bus. So we have to walk several blocks to the next station, right? Like that was 1980s. I mean, the level of improvement is just unbelievable.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it goes back to the same thing that Kishore Mahbubani said too. Like after all of this transformation, like you're asking on one hand to, overthrow the current leader or overthrow the government entirely. It's like, what are you smoking? Like, what are you smoking? We have this one I didn't share in the group, but it's quite interesting to finish off on this one. I'll play the video here. Take a look at this.
Context will always be king.
Most recently, U.S. Forces Korea Commander General Xavier Bronson made a striking remark in a public interview, stating that South Korea is, quote-unquote, a dagger in the heart of Asia aimed at China. This comment stands in a stark contradiction to the spirit of a constructive China-U.S. relationship of strategic stability, which our two presidents agreed to build during President Trump's most recent visit to China, which you also just referred to in your speech. President Trump, in particular, has also repeatedly emphasized his desire to forge the best possible relationship with China. My question is simple. Does General Bronson's statement represent the official position of the Trump administration, and is characterization of South Korea's role as a dagger aimed at China authorized or endorsed by the Pentagon? Thank you.
What I said was trying to describe the operating environment, because what's incredibly important in being strong and quiet is about being able to describe the environment wherein we're working. If you remember, the Prussian philosopher, military philosopher Clemens talked about Korea being a dagger pointed at Japan. The difference is we have to change our perspective, which is why the East Up map is important. By changing our perspective, we take into account how others might see us in the region. We've got to be strong. We've got to have the right capabilities within the Republic of Korea, but we have to understand that those things still exist, and you have to combat those things every day. What I was trying to do in a place of learning was talk to War College students about how we have to change our perspective and think about where we are. Then I can advise not only my service secretary, but then my secretary, my boss in the Department of War, on what things we might do. The only way there will be philosophers in the future wearing uniforms like myself will be that we enter into the field of ideas. And we challenge ideas. And I'm okay with the challenge of the ideas, but we have to remember that context will always be king. And we have to take remarks contextually. And I would encourage that you listen to the entire podcast, as well as the speech that I gave to the War College students, which was pretty good.
The U.S. has this remarkable ability to speak with such a level of confidence that sometimes you have yourself asking yourself, "Am I the stupid one?" But wait, no. Then it's like you didn't actually answer the question, and you said just listen to the entire podcast. No, how about you just answer the two questions that has been presented to you. He's not willing to listen to it. And that's why I think there's a deep understanding that, they can build relations with the U.S. They can try to improve, the friendship between the two sides. But you always have to be careful here, because at the end of the day, you never know when they're going to flip on you. You know that if they still have a way to crush you, they will. I don't know what your reaction is to seeing that answer to those questions.
I mean, he says it's important to understand context. I mean, it's not that. It's pretty easy to understand the context, because from the perspective of U.S. military, this is how they always talk. Because General Douglas MacArthur, when he was stationed in Japan, he had said during the Korean War, he had said Taiwan was unsinkable aircraft carrier off the coast of China. So from the perspective of U.S. military, every piece of land adjacent to mainland China is an unsinkable aircraft carrier or a dagger pointing at the heart of China. This is how, when you have a nail, when you have a hammer, everything is a nail. For U.S. military, this is how they always view the relationship with China, that China is a problem that needs to be solved, that needs to be contained. Yeah.
And this is, they're always asking, why is China spending so much on defense? Why are they building up their defensive capabilities? And the answer is, well, we have these risks that are surrounding us. And they say, oh, no, you're crazy. That doesn't make any sense. Of course not. But then they're actually saying these things out loud. They're actually confirming all of China's concerns when they're, revealing on a podcast. I love this episode. There's this one thing. There's these there's a guy being interrogated by the police in this room in the U.S. And he says, oh, you tell us what happened. Why did you do this? And stuff like that. He's like, I'm not saying anything. And then all of a sudden they bring in like 2 microphones and some lighting and some cameras, and they pretend it's a podcast. And then all of a sudden the criminal opens up. He's like, oh, so, I was, and that's essentially what's happening. You get these U.S. government guys on a podcast, and then they'll admit everything out loud. No, that's exactly what's happening. We don't have any more content. So we're going to wrap it up here. I don't know if there's anything else you want to finish on, or we just...
we already gone on more than 2 hours, so I think it's good. It's good for
We're good. All right, so once again, I'm not 100% sure we could do one next week, but for sure, 2 weeks, I'm taking my equipment with me on the road. I'll do we'll do these episodes I'll be going through Inner Mongolia, through Xinjiang. Maybe I'll set it up outside of my RV and you can see a little bit of the background. Or maybe I'll even get some clips ready of our trip that I can share on our live stream also. On the road or anything interesting I've seen. Yeah. We can introduce it to the show, make it a little bit more fun. But thanks everybody for joining. Thank you, Carl, once again, and we will see you all next time. Peace.
Bye-bye.